They always said money could buy everything. But on that quiet morning, Harold Drake, the man whose fortune stretched across continents, lay helpless in a crisp white hospital bed. One of the richest men in America, now fighting for his life. 20 of the nation's finest doctors had been flown in. Specialists examined every detail, whispered theories, ordered endless tests. Yet not one had the answer. The world waited for a miracle. And strangely, it didn't come from them, but from the last person anyone would expect. A poor, unnoticed girl with nothing to her name but kindness. Harold Drake was no ordinary man. He had built empires, hosted galas, and made headlines. But on the morning of his collapse, at a charity event no less, the empire felt powerless. Within hours, his mansion turned into a fortress of medical brilliance. Cardiologists, neurologists, surgeons, all circling, trying to pull him back. Nothing worked. His condition spiraled downward. News networks lit up. Billionaire's life hanging by a thread. Doctors baffled. Crowds gathered outside his gates, desperate for updates. Among them stood Leela, just 16. A faded sweater, shoes ready to fall apart, a face no one noticed. She wasn't there for wealth or recognition. She was there because years ago, without ever knowing it, Harold Drake had saved her. One of his charities had funded the medicine that kept her mother alive. That gift had been etched into her heart. And now, hearing he was dying, she whispered to herself, "I have to help." With nothing but determination, she pushed through the crowd, slipped past security, and entered the grand hall where the most brilliant minds in medicine surrounded his bed. "Get this child out of here," a surgeon snapped. But Leela's eyes weren't on them. They were on Harold. She saw what they didn't, the subtle swelling of his lips after sipping water, the faint rash on his neck. Her heart raced. She remembered her mother once reacting the same way to hidden peanut oil. "It's not a disease," she blurted out. "It's an allergy." The room froze. Doctors exchanged doubtful glances. Impossible, they thought. But Leela pointed at a glass of juice by the nightstand. "Check the ingredients. There's almond extract. He's allergic." One young doctor scanned the label. His face drained of color. She was right. Within seconds, they gave him the right treatment. The monitor steadied. Harold gasped, coughed, and slowly, color returned to his cheeks. The room erupted, not in applause, but in stunned silence. 20 doctors had missed it. A poor girl had saved a billionaire's life. Days later, when Harold regained his strength, he asked to see her. Leela stood by his bed, nervous, her sweater still torn at the elbow. He whispered, "You saved me. Why, when the world gave you so little?" She smiled gently. "Because years ago you saved my mother. Kindness doesn't expire. It always finds its way back." For the first time in decades, Harold Drake felt wealthier than money could ever make him. True to his word, he gave Leela scholarships, opportunities, a future she could only dream of. Yet what touched her most wasn't the fortune, it was the way he told the world. Never underestimate those the world overlooks. Sometimes the smallest heart sees what the greatest minds cannot. And so his story became a lesson. That compassion is the only currency that never loses its value. That sometimes it isn't power or wealth that saves a life, but the quiet kindness of someone who remembers. This is HQ Infinite Stories, where we remind you that kindness never fades, and the smallest act can change everything.